Welcome to the AACFB's 2024 Meet the Funder webinar series. My name is Monica Harper. I'm the Executive Director of the AACFB, and I'll be your host. Our presenter today is Vicki Rocco from Entegra Capital. Entegra Capital is both a funding source member and a gold sponsor of the AACFB, and I'd like to thank them for their support of the association. Before I introduce Vicki, I'd like to go over a few items that make this webinar more enjoyable and informative for everyone. During the presentation, you should see a Q&A box that allows you to ask questions. If you have any questions during the presentation, please submit your questions in the box, and they should be answered by the end of the webinar. Please reserve the chat for communication between attendees. The entire webinar should take no more than 30 to 45 minutes. And for those of you who would like to review this webinar at a later date, it will be posted on the 2024 Meet the Funder page of our website, and it will be emailed out to the AACFB membership. At this time, I'd like to turn over to Vicki. Vicki, it is all yours.
All right. Thank you very much, Monica. I just want to first say that I appreciate everybody joining us here today, and we will try to keep it short and succinct and leave plenty of time to answer any questions you may have at the end of the session. Just in general, I want to look at kind of an overview of our company, the types of deals that we consider, ranges that you could expect from us, and a little bit of information on our processes. As I'm sure you're aware, those processes can get pretty in-depth depending on the complexity of the deal, but at least give you a small overview of what to expect when working with us. We are a small independent funding source. We actually hold and service every deal that we finance. So all of our leases are actually handled here out of our corporate headquarters in Overland Park, Kansas, which is a suburb of Kansas City. So if you ever want to come see us, we will treat you to some great barbecue here in Kansas City. We were actually established back in 2016. However, it was really towards the end of 2018 and 2019 that we really started growing and expanding to, a larger group of brokers. And that really came about as we put the company together. I actually started here in 2018, and I think I was the 7th employee. So we're small, we're still small, but we have a little over 20 employees now. But we're handling a much bigger book of business. And as we've grown, we've definitely become more efficient. We do specialize in transportation. We do construction equipment, but I would say the majority of our portfolio is going to fall right in that transportation sector. And we'll talk a little bit more about that here in a minute. We do have a proprietary scoring model. People will ask us if we have a rate card. We do not have a rate card. Every deal that comes to us not only goes through the scoring model, which is going to look at a variety of aspects of the deal. I think the last time I checked, there were 20 or more things, points of data that were going to be looked at and scored. However, it is reviewed by our credit team. And so we try to make smart decisions too, and not just rely on the score. The score informs our decision, but the decision's made by our credit team. And that score is going to look at everything from the type of asset that it is, and the age of the asset, to the business and how long they've been in business. And we do look at PayNet. We look at the owners of the company and their credit history. So all of those things taken into account, and even things like what part of the country are they in? So there are some things that really are not typically what you would think of as, hey, FICO, time in business, kind of those big 3 or 4, bullet points that you look at on an application. But we dig a little deeper than that. Also want to point out that we are and have always been 100% third-party origination broker organization or broker business organization. So we only source our deals through the broker community. We will not compete with you for your business. Your customer stays your customer. And I think, I probably have a handful of brokers that we've been working with for several years that would be able to tell you that, yes, indeed, if we get a customer that calls in and wants another piece of equipment, or even if we get somebody that calls in out of the blue, we will refer them back to the broker that we originally booked a deal with. We also have times where we will have vendors that will reach out to us and want to work directly with us. And we also refer them to our broker community and let them know that we have made a commitment to brokers to only work through them, and that we will happily give the vendor a list of brokers that we feel like would do a great job for them. We do not have a broker agreement. We really look at it as, with our due diligence that we do during the application process, our scoring model. Once we have approved a deal, we've approved it and feel like it's on us. So there is no recourse back to the broker. Once a transaction's funded, we take responsibility for it. Since we're an asset-based funder and the asset plays a big part in that approval, we're pretty picky on picky may not be the right word, but we're very specific on the types of assets that we will and will not finance. And once you reach out to us and ask for broker information, we'll send you a broker guide. And if you're a current broker with us, thank you. And if you need an updated broker guide, please let us know, and I will ask one of your account managers to send that information out to you. We do have an approved asset list. So in order to get an approval, the asset will need to be on that approved asset list. Right now, we will finance class 4 through 8 trucks. Some key things to note: we will do sleepers, we'll do over-the-road long haul, and we do not have a fleet requirement. So, an owner-operator with 1 truck, as long as he's been in business and meets our time in business guidelines, then we are good to go on that. We do multiple types of trailers. We'll do vocational equipment. Tow trucks, garbage trucks, concrete pumps, that type of thing. We also do yellow iron, and there's multiple types of yellow iron that we do. For the most part, we like the bigger equipment on the yellow iron side. However, I will say that our year guidelines are 2020 or newer. And I know that a lot of the applications that many of you may be seeing out there for older years of construction equipment. So in order to meet our approved asset list, it would need to be 2020 or newer. Trailers, we do a wide variety of trailers, as I said. On trailers, they need to be 2016 or newer. If they are flatbed, drive-in, reefer. Reefer needs to be 15,000 hours or less on the reefer engine. Any other type of trailer needs to be 2019 or newer. On trucks, we're looking for 2020 or newer trucks, and that's across all classes. So 250,000 miles is our max mileage for classes 4 through 6. And 650,000 miles is our max mileage on class 7 and 8 trucks. And as I said, construction equipment needs to be 2020 or newer. One thing I want to point out too, it's super important when you submit a deal to us for review that we get complete specs with the app package. And in fact, if you don't send them over, our credit team is probably going to reach out to you and ask for them. And the reason is we do multiple valuations on the equipment before we give you the approval. And that valuation is going to have a direct impact on the down payment that is going to be required from the customer. So if you think about an over-the-road truck with let's say aluminum wheels and an APU, that is going to value differently than one that has regular steel wheels and doesn't have an APU. And yet, if you're just sending something over with the VIN, that APU and the fairings and everything else is not going to show up. So the more complete you can get specs to us, the better we're going to be able to really develop an approval that you'll be able to sell. As far as the business and the owners of the business, we require for our standard program 2 years time in business, and we need to be able to prove that. So we can do that through Secretary of State. We can do that if they're an owner operator, which we do owner operators. We're going to need to see a Schedule C or something that shows us that they've been actually in the trucking business. And, sometimes we'll see somebody send over a Schedule C and they were an Uber driver or some other type of independent contractor. And so what we're looking for is that they've actually been running a trucking operation or that type of business for the minimum years that are required. We do have a special program for those with a 725 or better FICO. And I should note that we pull an Experian FICO 2, which I think is fairly common across our group. And so if we're able to pull a 725 or better FICO, then we can lower that time and business requirement to 1.5 years. Also of note, we are only doing business in the lower 48, so we're not able to accept applications from Alaska or, excuse me, Hawaii. On the owners of the business, for our standard program, we're looking at 660 or better average across all applicants. So if there are multiple owners of the company, we're statements. And those can be, if you request it, we can stip that and get those before we go to documentation. However, we will have to have them, and we will have to have them approved before we can fund the deal. So the thing that's important there is if the bank statements don't pass, even if we're already in docs stage, the deal can be killed because of that. So my suggestion is that you send the bank statements over with the application so that we can get it all cleared from the beginning. For any financing amount over $150,000, we are also going to request financials or the most recent tax returns. And one thing to note on that is when I'm referred to the financed amount, if there's, let's say, a piece of equipment that's $180,000 and we're going to require a 20% down payment, we would have a down payment of $36,000. The financed amount would be below $150,000, and we would not require financials or tax returns on that. So it is the financed amount after the down payment that is that threshold that we're looking at. As far as the approval ranges, our approvals come back in ranges. You are able to build up to 10 points of commission into the deal, and you control that through our portal. Our buy rate is going to come back and be included in that, obviously, in the approval through our portal, and you will have the ability to go in and as you add points in or make modifications to the term length or down payment, that's going to impact what your ultimate sell rate is. But our buy rates are going to range from the high 9s to the high 20s, and it really is just going to depend on really that scoring model and the deal itself, the merits of the deal. Our terms can range from 36 to 60 months. There is the possibility, and that's going to be the standard. There is a possibility, let's say if there's a new piece of equipment, and if my credit team is on here and I'm saying something wrong, then they'll probably email me about it, but I'm pretty sure that we still will consider up to 72 months on a brand new piece of equipment as an exception. So that's something that you could talk to your account manager about if and when you submit a deal for a brand new truck or trailer. We only do leases. We do not do EFAs. Our standard lease types are going to be track lease or a conditional sale. We do have a kind of a subtype of track lease that we call Smart Pay residual. And so in that, with a track lease, a standard track lease, that is more of a true lease, the end of lease option is going to be range from 10 to 20% that you can build into it. With the Smart Pay residual, you are able to, through the contract, break that residual payment at the end of the term into, say, 3 payments to make it a little easier for you to sell it to your customer. So it doesn't seem like they've got to come up with 20%, out of pocket at the end of it. Our primary program is going to require a down payment of 20%. When we talked earlier about the 725 or better FICO, if they qualify for that, even with a 1.5 year time in business, we are going to be able to at least start at a 10% down payment as long as the asset's 2020 or better. And one caveat that I will point out on the down payment, and it kind of references back to talking about specs. As I said, we value out all of the assets that are submitted to us on the applications. And if the asset's out of value, if our valuations come back and say that an asset is worth, 80,000 and the dealer's asking 120,000, then that valuation that's out of skew is going to be added to the deal as an increase in the down payment. So normally it's not, I've seen them come through before adding even, 2, 3, 5% to the down payment. It's not normally something where you're going to double your down payment. So down payments are typically going to range from 10 to 20%, get us the great specs, and we'll be able to probably keep that closer to that 10% and 20% range. But there is the possibility, like I said, if it doesn't value out, that the down payment could be adjusted up from there. I mentioned it a little bit. We have our online portal, which is called App Builder. And then once you have an approval, that approval is submitted back to you via what's called Term Builder. And that Term Builder is where you can log in and actually structure your deal and print out multiple versions of the, of proposals. So where somebody might have the option of either a conditional sale or a track lease or that Smart Pay option, you could go in and build a structure around each of those and submit it to them and, see which one they're most likely to bite on. We do use DocuSign. I think pretty much everybody since COVID hit has moved to DocuSign. And so all of our contracts go out via DocuSign. We also were an early adopter of eNotary, and that has really helped us speed up our our time in being able to get docs signed, to get the POA back, all of that. So we've had great success with that. We do have not only automated notifications and checklists that go out every time you submit parts of the deal package to us once it's in the doc stage, but we also have really a team that's here to stand behind you. And I think if there was one thing that I could say we probably are known for, aside from being in the transportation sector, and that is really our team, our customer service, and our responsiveness. We get fabulous feedback on credit decisions being returned quickly, and our team across the board being very responsive. I can't tell you how many times I've gotten a call, picked up the phone, and had somebody say, "I can't believe you actually answered the phone." So that's something that we pride ourselves on, and really look to build partnerships with our broker community. We do install GPS on all of the assets that we finance. Even the trailers are going to have at least a wireless GPS on them. And that just helps us be able to not only keep track of the asset, but provide a little more security on our side, that we know where it's at all times, and can maintain control of that asset. We do wire commission at the same time we fund the vendors, so there's no delay on that. And that was the highlights of what I wanted to make sure and tell everybody about. I'm happy to answer questions. If you have questions, here's my contact information. And of course, it's also available, through the directory on the AACFB website. But, if you have questions about our program, feel free to reach out to me. If you're interested in signing up to become a broker with us, please send us an email, and I will get one of our account managers that's over your area to kind of reach out and walk through our program in more detail with you, get our broker guide out, and work to get you set up as an approved broker with Entegra Capital. With that, Monica, I will see if there are any questions that anybody has.
We do have one question, and just a reminder, if you do have a question, please put it in the Q&A box and we'll get that answered for you. The first question is, do you finance Bobcat machines?
There are certain types of that collateral, and so my hesitation in answering is I need to go back and look, because there are literally certain manufacturers that we will finance and some that we don't. Typically and historically, we were looking at the heavy duty yellow iron, but within the past couple of years, we have started financing some of that type of equipment. And I believe Bobcat is one of the manufacturers that we will finance. But Tracy, I'm happy to send you that information once. So I'm not giving you bad information. I'm happy to check with credit and send you that information on what types we will finance.
Okay. Do you ever take or consider free and clear vehicle as additional collateral, either to support creditworthiness or in lieu of down payment?
We used to. We do not do additional collateral anymore. What I would suggest, if it's possible, is to use it as trade-in, because we can count trade-in equity against the down payment. There's always going to be one of the questions that I get is, if I have a trade-in that's worth, $20,000 and my required down payment is $15,000, can I use that extra $5,000 for the upfront fees, which are, the first payment, interim rent, or any of the documentation fees that we have? And the answer to that is no. So the upfront fees are always going to need to be paid out of pocket. But the trade-in equity can be applied to the down payment on the equipment.
Okay. What is the max funding amount?
Good question. 250,000 is the max amount that we can advance. So having said that, because we know there's going to be a down payment involved, again, going back to the 20% down payment, or even let's say a 10% down payment, if you have an app for $300,000 worth of equipment and they are willing and able to put down 50,000, then we can finance 250,000 on that $300,000 app.
Okay. Will you finance electric trucks from new EV OEMs?
Those are not on our approved asset list yet. However, as we start to see more of them enter the market, I think part of the challenge is, a part of our valuation is going to look at what's the likelihood of the lifespan of this piece of equipment. And I know EV cars are supposed to last longer than EV trucks, but I'm not sure how much adoption there will be for that. The other aspect of that is if we get that truck back, how easy is it going to be for us to turn it? Will there be a ready resale market if we did have to repossess that truck? So not yet, but if it's something that you have a vendor that you're working with that's doing EV trucks, I would say let's talk to the credit department and see what they say.
Okay. If the customer is a non-citizen, what documentation do you require besides the social security number?
We're going to need to see, typically they're going to have a driver's license or a CDL or some form of ID like that. But we don't have like green card requirement where, it has to be valid for X period of time. Say it doesn't have to be something where, they are able to prove that they're here for the term of the lease, I guess is what I'm saying. So typically we get CDL, driver's license, and then we're able to run or do a pull on Experian.
Okay. Do you offer seasonal payments for ag customers without touch payments in between?
No, we don't. All of our payments are monthly, and they are on a specific schedule. So since we're servicing everything in-house, we have 4 payment dates each month. And so all of our leases are going to fall within one of those payment dates, but all of our leases are structured as monthly payments.
Okay. Does the rate of a non-permanent resident with a social security number get affected, or will it be the same as a resident?
To my knowledge, I do not believe that falls into the scoring. So all of our rates are based on where they fall in the scoring model. And so I'm going to say no, it does not impact the rate in as much as just the fact that they're not a US citizen, because they might have other characteristics for that application that are going to, raise the score. So I guess that's my final answer.
Okay. Do you do private party sales?
We do not. No, we did for a while. We didn't used to, and then we tried it for a while and we've backed off of them again. They are a nightmare to title. And after the last few times of getting our titling department upset with us for doing private party deals, we just decided to not go there anymore. Titling is always a challenge, especially in this type of finance in this industry. And so we have to make sure that not only are we doing deals with businesses and individuals that are creditworthy, but that we're going to be able to perfect those titles. And because they're leases, they're titled in our name until the end of the term of the lease. And so it's important to us that we have an established good relationships with our brokers and with the vendors that those brokers are working with so that we can minimize any of those issues. But it's hard enough to get, titling to be a perfect process on the vendor side, and private party was that much worse. So no longer.
Is 10,000 the minimum deal?
It is, yes.
Will you fund sale leasebacks?
No, we do not do sale leasebacks.
Okay. That seems to be all the questions that we have. We'll give it just a second or two. Somebody else has a question, but great interaction feedback there, it looks like.
Yeah, absolutely. I appreciate everybody. It's hard. I was telling Monica, when you're doing these, I wish I could see faces out there because I feel like I'm just talking to my computer, but
I'll turn my video on so you can see me.
okay. Thank you, Monica.
Just
so alone.
So the question is, can we get these slides? We are recording, so this recording will be on our on the Meet the Funder page of our website. So, and if Vicki, if you want to send me the slides, I can include a link to the slides as well on that page. So yes, we can get you the ability to this. So you can refer
and
to
I would say you've got my email address there. Email me and we'll be happy to get that information to you and much, much more. And just start that conversation and let's see if it's something that, we could be a good fit for you.
I have a question. What is the end of lease amount?
It depends on how it's structured. So on a conditional sale, it's either going to be $1 or a 101 out. So a conditional sale is an assumed sale lease. On our track leases, when you're creating the structure that you're going to sell, you can create any sort of end of term amount between 10 to 20%. So you could do 10%. Or you could do 13.5% end of term. So it just really is going to depend on what's the easiest, what's the best structure and option for your customer. Are they monthly payment driven or are they ownership driven? And that's going to help you, figure out the best way to sell them on it.
Right. Well, it looks like that is all of the questions. So I'll wrap things up. I want to say a big thanks to all our participants and especially our valued funding source and gold sponsor, Entegra Capital. Thanks for a great job, Vicki. And we invite everyone to meet with Entegra in person at our Commercial Financing Expo in September in New Orleans. Thanks again for joining us and have a great day.
Thanks, everyone.